What's up, 8th grade? This is a lesson on dotted quarter notes. So before we dive into the actual notes, let's think about what does a dot do when you add it to a note or rest? Think, do you remember? Well, basically it adds half of the value of the note to itself. Think about the one that we know. A dotted half note gets 3 beats, okay? But a half note without the dot gets 2 beats. So how do you get there? Well, you add half of its value to itself. So a half note is 2. You go to put a dot on it, right? What's half of 2? 1. Put that together. Boom, 3 beats. Okay? Let's say you had a whole note. That's worth 4. And you put a dot on it, right? Well, what's half of 4? 2. So the dot is worth half of whatever the original note is. Put them together. A dotted whole note would be worth 6 beats. So we're learning about dotted quarter notes. Okay? A quarter note is worth 1 beat. So what's half of that? Half of that is a half. 1 plus a half. So put those two together and you get 1.5 beats. And that's how many beats a dotted quarter note is worth. It's a little tricky. Let's take a look at the notes and see how this thing looks. Okay? I like to use this as an example. We know very well how to perform this first measure. Where's my pen? Here we go. We'd have 1, 2, and 3, 4 and. Now that's the way we did it in the past. Now we are counting all the ends. So we won't leave this one off, right? 1 end together. We won't leave this end out, 3 end together. We're dealing with half beat things. So this dotted quarter note is a beat and a half. So it's very good that we keep track of all of our ends. Now, let's remember what this line is right here. Do you remember what that's called? Those little lines that connect the notes, the same pitch, those are called a tie. That was not a very good dotted I right there. They tie them together. So this measure is identical to this one, except it has a tie. So let's put the count in and figure out what that means. It's not very difficult. You probably already know. You're figuring it out right now as you look at this. But since this is tied together, you're not going to clap the 2. It's like you continue to hold out this first note, and you're making it longer to go into that one. So you see how we underlined 1 N over here, and then 2 was its own sound? We would clap on it. Here, 1 end is still part of the quarter note, but in this case, we're holding it even longer, so we're holding it through to the 2. Then the end by itself is its own clap. 3 you clap on, obviously we hold it through the end because it's a quarter note, but we also add on the 4 now because we tied these 2 together. See how that works? And so what's going on here in the music is this is nice and visual, but the rule in music is pretty much to write as little notes as possible so that you can kind of like declutter your measures. So notice how many beats this is right here. It's an entire beat, that's beat 1, plus half of that beat, right? The beginning of beat 2, and that is a beat and a half. Okay, and we said that the dotted quarter note, using the rule of the dot, where you add half of its value to itself, will be worth a beat and a half. So that note is going to replace something like this tied together. So this gets a beat and a half, the full first beat of the measure, and then the beginning of the next beat, 1 and 2. See that? And that leaves our little end right here. So just look at this and realize, oh yeah, it used to be like, a quarter note without that little X right there, and eighth notes. But now we're kind of clumping that 2 over there with the dotted quarter note. And so this and this are the same thing. They are identical in sound. It just looks a little cleaner down here on the left. And you'll notice the way dotted rhythms feel is very consistent. So you'll get used to them. So here we go. Dotted quarter note, beat 3, all of beat 3, because it's a quarter note, plus the beginning of beat, whoops, not 2, the beginning of beat 4. Okay, and that leaves our last little half beat of the measure right there. All right, so here we go. Full half note, so this is 2 beats. All of beat 1, all of beat 2. That's held out. And then we have dotted quarter notes. The same combination as right here, starting on beat 3, a beat, 1 beat, and a half, the beginning of the next. 3 and 4, end. All right, now let's go split screen here and take a look at what it's like to perform it. It's our last step. There you go. You can see me. You can see the rhythm. So starting out right here, I'll use the chest clap to give you a feel for it so you can see, and I can point with my mouse where I am. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. See how I'm holding that out? Totally connecting. You can't clap that one anymore. They're tied together. So down here, exactly the same feel. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that dotted pattern of notes is kind of like a long short. When you start to speed it up, it's like the dotted note is long followed by a quick short. Long, short, long, short, long, short, right? It would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That long short feeling is always there, especially when you speed up and you see dotted notes, because you can put a dot on any kind of note. Whole, half, quarter, eighth, 16th. You can put them anywhere you want, and the rule is always the same. Add half of its value to itself. That's how they work. See you next time.